How is everyone doing? It's been a few days. Been out climbing some lovely Yorkshire hills. It was great. I had a good time. But we're back, and just to get back into the swing of things, here's a little vid on Glen Kamara. Glen Kamara is, as I speak, on the verge of signing for Stade Rennais in France. Hmm. There's a lot of discussion about Kamara and whether this is a Is it fine? Is it bad? Is he replaceable? Isn't he replaceable? I'll tell you my opinion on what I think about this. If you look at it from a finance perspective, quickly, I'll get that out of the way because that bores me, to be honest. It makes sense, doesn't it? When you look at the player, as pure profit for the club or as an asset to the club, you buy him for 5 million as a year at the club, and then you sell him for around 9 million, something like that. You're making almost double on the asset at 29 years old. That's not bad business, right? So the question for me on that, and whether that is significant or not on the investment and the money you get back from the player, you lose the player. Is he replaceable? That's the word that is going round, and that's the discussion. Now, what I will say is, I think the role in the team, the number 8 in a Daniel Farker system, I think there's a lot of players who can do that well. So is he replaceable? Yes. Is the caliber of player, if we want to maintain the level, going to mean, there's a smaller pool of player in that position that reach the level we need? Yes, definitely. It's not like we could just get any 8 in the Championship or any 8 in the Premier League that's not playing for their side. Glen Kamara, for whatever people say about him, is a good player. He's a good player. He's gone to Stade Rennais, who I believe, unless they had a bad year, are in the Champions League. Or they have ambitions to get back in there if they're not in there, but I'm pretty sure they're up there and they have been for the last 3 or 4 years. They also have a very good recruitment policy, Stade Rennais. Most players they bring in work, or they sell them for profit. He's replacing Enzo Laffi, obviously, who has left Stade Rennais. Enzo Laffi is a top player. So they see him as a calibre of player who can help them from a player in Enzo Laffi, who's, I think he's gone to Roma. He's a good player. It's one I'd like at Leeds if we'd have got promoted. So the calibre of player is high. And we have this thing as Leeds fans where, because they don't do one thing, it makes the players always rubbish. He wouldn't be rubbish. He was going to Stade Rennais replacing Enzo Laffi, trust me. Glen Kamara is a solid player. He is. He is a solid player. At any level, at any club, he could have a role. Whether that's coming off the bench, impact sub, whatever, whether that's Stein. He's a good, solid footballer who's decent on the ball. And these are the core characteristics that you need in an 8, realistically. Positional awareness is one that's huge, obviously. Where are you positionally? What's your brain saying? Do you know kind of the rotations, the spaces you should be in? Like Kamara, for the most part, is very good at that. He's very tidy on the ball. He's press resistant. How many times have we seen Glen Kamara on the ball where he can get out of a little tight space with a little turn, a little jink of the shoulder? These are the little things that you're looking at. Obviously, passing ability, we know he is very decent at passing. The thing about Glen Kamara that he's maybe missing, and we've got to talk about this, is I've seen people comparing Rodri and all this. Guys, we are in the Championship. If there's a number 8 out there that has all the attributes you need to be the perfect 8, he's nowhere near the Championship. Nowhere near it. That's where we are. So Glen Kamara doesn't necessarily have that kind of forward aggression, but I think he has it in him. But I don't think he uses it enough. That finish inside, that goal threat, he's not. He's good in build-up. He's good at combinations. He's good at maintaining possession. His positional play is very good, but he doesn't have that goal threat. And if he did have that goal threat, and I say this all the time, that'd have been known at Rangers, and he wouldn't have transferred to Leeds. He'd have transferred to a team in the Premier League. Because everything else about Glen Kamara, in terms of his technical assets, his physical assets, his brain, are top. They're very good. Hence why he's got a good move to a side playing in Europe. We have to look at it like that. I know as players leave, we always like to say, look, well, he's not that good anyway. But for what we're looking for in an 8 is someone who is reliable on the ball, like Glen Kamara had, but they don't necessarily need to be as technically good or technically sound or even as physical in that sense. Someone who is good in possession and good playing box to box, and also ideally someone who is a threat in the final third. I think that works as a profile in a Daniel Farke system as well. I don't think you necessarily need that 8 that is really technical or really a real good passer, ball retention, physically strong, technical. I think you can have more of an attacking threat type player in there when you have a good 6, which we do. We have an excellent 6. We have 2 really good 6s at this level. Ampadu, of course, and Gruev. When you have those in the squad, you can kind of allow a bit more freedom for that 8, I think. And I've gone through videos as well. I did one the other week on 8s. So if you guys haven't checked that out, I've looked at it. 8s that I think can replace it. And the key aspect about them 8s is they have that attacking side of it. That they can shoot from the edge of the box. They do take set pieces. These are the things that Kamara didn't necessarily have. So that's the kind of sides of it. The biggest issue for me, and I'll show you right now, is our squad at the moment. So there it is before Kamara. What am I doing there? There it is before Kamara, and we brought in Rothwell, obviously. And you take that out, and again, the clear problem right now, they have one. And look, up here as well, and this is the decisive part of it for me, and this is the desperate side of it. Right now, this is the squad. There is an argument that Aronson could play that role. Whether he does or not remains to be seen. There's also an argument that Joe Perreault is a striker. There's also an argument that Rutter is a striker or a winger, right? In some ways, we have so many 10s. In some ways, we have none. But the biggest thing is the 8 area. And Aronson could play there. But right now, as a recognised player who plays in that position, we have one, and that's Rothwell, who we brought in to replace Glen Kamara, right? And even in Rothwell, as a good player at this level, who will impact the season for us, he will have an impact. And he can hit the ball, he can score goals, and he breaks into the box during attacks. I think it'd be extremely naive for us to go in without any more. And what I want to clarify is, I'm not going to do this transfer window stuff. It's literally working in that field. You're judged when it's finished. You are at the mercy of what's happening around you. You can't get these players. I've already had this discussion. It's hard to get your target when the club have the target and they're not willing to get rid of the target yet because they're waiting to get another target in for when he goes, right? But the clear downside here is this. We don't have another 8. There is questions. Could Crew play there? Could Ampadu play there even? Could Aronson play there? But they're all coulds. There isn't a second 8. There isn't 2 8s. There's no one competing necessarily directly with Rothwell that we know is an 8, out and out 8. Right? It's all could he? Maybe he could. Right? And that's the issue. That's the biggest problem with Kamara going. You're losing a solid performer in that area, in that space. So if this is happening, I would assume, and at the time of recording, I've not seen anything, that there is a replacement in there. And that needs to happen. So you don't necessarily have to batter Kamara. You don't necessarily have to say, good, he's going. It would have been nice to keep Glen Kamara. I think he's an excellent player to have at this level. But having said that, that wouldn't necessarily mean I wouldn't want another one, right? Because, again, the profile of the player was he didn't have this side of it. The side of it that I think Rothwell has is that forward drive, that shooting side of it. That worked well. But now, with Rothwell, who, by the way, at Southampton, did predominantly play deeper and maintain possession more, as opposed to driving with it, is the only one. So you don't have the opposite now. Before you didn't have what Rothwell had, now you didn't have what Kamara had. The ideal situation is you have a player who has different attributes. Now, people talk about Carew, and there's a lot being made about Charlie Carew. What I will say is he's so young. He's younger than Archie Gray, and he's obviously not as developed as Archie Gray yet, or he would have been in the team last year. And for me, what I've seen under 18s, Crew is predominantly a 6. Predominantly a 6. Now, we don't know. I'm not going to say that. The thing is about young players is, I'm not going to put any pressure on them, but you don't know how they develop. They might be outstanding. They might develop in the summer so well, and they might fit in training, and they might be excellent. We don't see that. It's hard to judge, so I'm not going to. But the point is, it's not a reliance. It'd be naive to rely on that maybe happening, right? And look, I respect and like our recruitment team. I think the names we have there are very good. So I'm assuming if the manager wants, there is a replacement for the role Glen Kamara played. And that's the important side of it. It's the role the player had, what he brought to the side. And what Glen Kamara did bring was a lot of balance, a lot of stability, both offensively and defensively. He was very press resistant. He maintained possession well. And when he wanted to, which he should have done more, he could drive with it. He's a very solid player at this level, hence why playing in Europe. Took 1 year out of Europe, by the way, and went back into it. So let's not think this is good. It doesn't have to be bad, right? Because there is names out there, of course there is, who play different roles to Glen Kamara, but could arguably be more effective in the sense that with the good base we have behind the 8, it might allow us to bring in an 8 that is a bit more progressive. That makes sense. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this Glen Kamara thing. This was just a quick vid. There will be stuff coming, big stuff. I've literally just got in and I've got to go out, so I'm just doing this one right now quickly. I apologise if it's a bit rushed, not the best, but I've got to get one out there because it's been 4 days. But there is some bigger stuff coming. Don't worry, it's going to be good, including maybe a Matteo Joseph video in the next month, which I'm working very hard on. But yeah, I appreciate all the support as usual. Let me know what you guys think about Kamara. I'm interested to know. See you in a bit.